Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. A reminder of our major stories. Two former Nigerian leaders, General Ibrahim Babangida and Dr. Goodluck Jonathan, make strong statements on the indivisibility of the country, also support restructuring and national coexistence. Security agencies ponder on frequent suicide attacks at the University of Maiduguri in Borno State as the police intensify action to unravel cause of incidents. Inspector General of Police says the leadership of the force will no longer tolerate corruption, warns officers to desist from such acts. And the U.S. Supreme Court partially lifts injunction against President Trump's travel ban. For more on our top stories and others, please visit our website, channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. You can also watch us on the go on your mobile device. Log on to m.channelstv.com or download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. Having the Channels TV and Channels 24 apps will give you access to news and updates. You also have the Eyewitness feature, so you too can be part of the news. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu and follow the instructions to share those pictures, videos or news of happenings around you. So let's take a look at some of the pictures you sent in. First is this image from Ikeja in Lagos. It shows a blocked drainage along Golowu Street. Our Eyewitness reporter is worried about the poor sanitation culture of the people in the area. Also in Lagos, our Eyewitness reporter sent in this picture of an abandoned public health center in the Ikorodu area begging for attention. The Eyewitness reporter says the structure has been abandoned for a long time and needs rehabilitation. Next is a picture of a residential area in Warri, Delta State. Our Eyewitness reporter says the place has been neglected for more than 18 years without an access road. The only road in the area, according to our Eyewitness reporter, was constructed by the Landlord Association. We thank you for sending in the pictures and ask that you keep them coming. Education is considered the best legacy handed down to the young ones, but there seems to be a challenge with the standard in the sector today. Even the federal government acknowledges this, which is why the Minister of Education, Adamu Adamu, announced recently that government is declaring an emergency to reviving the sector. In our next reports, we'll look at the decay in the education sector.
7.44 trillion naira, the appropriation for 2017. Out of this, only 10% goes to education, a far cry from the UNICEF recommendation of 26%. At the primary school level, the decay is apparent. It's worse in some parts of the north, where students study under the trees or in dilapidated buildings.
Nigerian education system, we have not given it a serious thought. We have not given it a serious thought that it deserves. That's the problem. That's the problem. It's not like any other of the other sectors.
For the secondary schools, yes, there is improvement in the infrastructure, but teaching and learning are performed mostly by unqualified personnel.
Let's get the people who can teach and teach the students without looking elsewhere, both at all levels, primary, secondary, university, polytechnics, wherever. Most of the people that we see teaching now, they are looking elsewhere. They are just not satisfied sitting on their salary.
At the tertiary level, the situation is worse than you can imagine, with lecturers on strike for months due to poor welfare, as is the case with Ladoke Akintola University in Ogbomosho, Oyo State.
There are crises in all the areas of education, in out-of-school children, in technical vocational education and training, in ICT, in all areas you can think of. So the ministers are going to start talking among themselves to come out with solutions.
Nigeria is still lagging behind in the area of technical education, whereas countries like Kenya and Ghana are now concentrating more on improving science and technology, and this is what many expect Nigeria to focus on.
To get more perspective on the sector, joining us on the news at 10 is Dr. Adelaja Dukoya. He's a member, National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Many thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Education in any country is one of the keys to national development, and globally it's a fundamental right. But is this the case in Nigeria?
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. Like you rightly said, education is very important. And it goes beyond just being a legacy for the youth. It's actually the bedrock of national development. Benjamin Disraeli, the former British Prime Minister, he said, "Unto the education of this country, the future of the country depends." So the problem we have here is that, unfortunately, and with all sense of responsibility, we need to say this, we have a ruling class that has a pathological hatred for knowledge. And unfortunately for us, we are in a global age where knowledge is actually the in thing. So we have a philosophy of education that is not rooted in empowerment, in development, and in actually liberating the people. We have an education that actually produces functional illiterates. So what we have is a situation whereby people can read and write, but basically they are hopelessly uneducated.
Do you think inadequate funding is the problem?
Yeah. That is, you see, if you want to understand the problem in the education sector, the best way to look at it is to start that, okay, we have the physical dimension, the philosophical dimension. That's what I just addressed. What is our view? What is our perception about education? What is the epistemology and the pedagogy of education? What value do society attach to education? The value, the philosophy is education for us, bread and butter. In other words, that's why you see parents, they are not even bothered about what the quality of education, but rather let them go to school and have the certificate and get a job. Most of the students who, if you give them certificate at the gate on their first day, they will say thank you and take the certificate and go back. It's just unfortunate. The second level is the physical infrastructure in terms of equipment, laboratories, hostel. You see what you have just shown here, overcrowded this thing. Funding is a problem there. Then the other part is the human dimension to it. Lecturers, teachers. Who are the teachers? No, go and look at the statistics in JAMB. Nobody wants to go to College of Education. It's only a second option. Even in the university, people who have not gotten admission into law and some other courses now say, okay, let me just go to the university. They go to education. And those who are even there are not well motivated. I'm talking about funding. The whole budget for education this year, for instance, is 540 billion. Federal government is owing ASU alone 690 billion.
Let's talk about this challenge, the new challenge to the educational sector, that is activities of herdsmen and their cattle invading classrooms. I mean, you have seen this in the north and the south. Yeah, we saw that.
I saw that, and it's been there. That is just one of the, in the first place, are those schools even fenced? That is part of the physical dimension. And that's equally a major problem about this thing. What is the kind of security and safety do you have in the schools? The shipwreck guests are still there. If we are still at the level of herdsmen, you understand? People went to school, took away girls. Then we are still having challenges in Lagos here and several other places. So we have a state that is not living up to its responsibility. And part of the problem is equally over centralization. You can't stay in Abuja and be controlling everything. The government should, or the federal government should, is shooing more than it can, biting more than it can chew. There's a way we should decentralize most of those things, and each state should have control. And unfortunately, the states are equally worse for it. The state has made education, particularly university, opening of new university, a kind of constituency project over politicization. Nobody is funding education at the state level again, if not for ASU struggles and the advent of TED Fund. You go to states like Ogun State University, you can't see a single structure by the state government there. And go to your state that you have just spoken about, Lautech now. The Oyo State government and Osun State government that cannot fund this an existing university, they are opening new ones.
So how about the lack of a working curriculum? Do you think that if government had faith in the system, there wouldn't be a race to study abroad?
I didn't get you.
Talking about the working curriculum, do you think that if government had faith in the system, there wouldn't be a race to study abroad? Everybody's racing.
No, the bottom line is that, you see, it is part of equally what we call the marketization of education. There's over-commercialization of education. And there's this rat race. You can see a lot of new universities. Who are those opening them? One, they don't have their children in Nigerian universities. They send them abroad. Two, the money stolen from us, they use it to establish universities. So based on that, the same thing they did for private, for the secondary school, primary school, they are doing it at the university level. So the whole education sector has become a bread and butter business. People have seen education as another opportunity next to oil. Let's just corner it and make money from it. That's what's happening. Someone
said the advent of oil meant the goodbye to teachers. Just a statement someone made. Let's get your thoughts about the rumors that one of the curriculums, I think the Christian religious knowledge, basic education, had been dropped.
That's not true. And of course, it's so unfortunate that even enlightened people equally say this. These are things that we can look up. We are in a situation whereby we spread rumor. The basic education curriculum was last approved in 2013 and came to effect in September 2014. Religious studies and Islamic studies are part of it. It has not changed. Nothing new have changed about that. So what we should be bothered about is that, one, the Nigerian government needs to fund education properly. Two, the philosophy behind our education. We are running a neo-colonial educational policy. And that is an educational policy that is not geared to serving the people and serving the country. Rather, it's an educational policy that makes the people more subservient. And it's in the interest of those the ruling class. Obafemi Awolowo said it, that when they criticized him that, free education will produce unemployed graduates. He said it's better to have unemployed graduates because they will know their right and fight for it. But the kind of education we are having is one that disempowers the people. It's one that just makes them to start looking for jobs. So those are the issues that we need to address, and urgently too.
The argument has also been that it's a matter of quality rather than standards.
That's, for me, semantics. You see, let's equally praise our teachers, lecturers at different levels. Because despite the rot, despite the inadequacy of the government, despite the inadequate funding, our students still go abroad and compete favorably. And those of us that are still here, and we go out, we compete with our colleagues, we are still part of this system. So what we need is for government to do the needful. Put money in the system, encourage lecturers, encourage teachers, and ensure, and again too, the education is incremental. The rot is starting from the primary school level. They have virtually neglected those levels. And as long as you have rot there, and you call have parents at home, parents are just interested in pushing their people through. They pay, you have miracle centers, you see them advertised all over, miracle center for JAM, for WAEC and things like that. And the government is looking, nobody is doing anything. You ask yourself, what is going on here? So, and it's what you send to the university system. It's garbage in, garbage out.
So essentially, it's a hydra-headed monster and all hands should be on deck.
Yes, at the level of the government, at the level of the school authorities, at the level of lecturers, and at the level of
Thank you so much, Dr. Adelaja Adukoya, member, National Executive Council of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, for coming on the News at 10.
Thank you so much. It's nice to be here.
And when the News at 10 returns, Pan Ocean Oil Corporation constructs a 67-kilometer pipeline for crude evacuation to boost federal government revenue. Plus, business news. Do join us again.